I was born in 1949. Now you know why I like water. At 20 months old, my parents brought me to Tanah Merah. You know? Those of you who are as old as me, Tanah Merah is the old Changi. And my mother works in FNN, Fraser and Eve, and they used to have bungalow houses there. And we used to spend a lot of our time by the beach, and I guess that's why I like water. Then national service. We were the first group that was called into national service when the government implemented this. And they introduced police as part-time. So I served the police force for 12 years. Sorry, see the cap, huh? And I rose to the rank of ASP. And after 12 years, I continued to volunteer as a volunteer. They call it the Special Constabulary Volunteer. The first duties we were given in those days, Lee Kuan Yew had this vision of green city. So we brought in a lot of plants. And all those days, the circus had a lot of beautiful colored plants. And we part-time national service served in the evening, 7 to 11. And one of our first duties I always remember was jaga bunga. We did nothing but patrolling, watching the plants, because the plants kept on being missing. So we spent a lot of our night evenings just jaga bunga. But all this, I enjoyed it. And this is something that I want to share with you. I never had a dull moment doing all these things. And like I told my son, and I think he did well, that's why he had the Sword of Honor, whatever you do something that you are passionate in and committed to, and do it good. Don't do it just for the sake of doing it. Because when you do things where you're really interested, time flies. That's why my 12 years in national service, very quickly. My career in the bank, 33 years. I joined the bank without a university degree. Just after school, went to work. That's why I was pulled into part-time national service. And I joined the bank as a cashier, a teller, counting money. I rose through the rank and file to be the first local country operations officer. I was also, at one time, running the Asia Currency Unit, which was the first Asia Currency offshore banking, for some of you who are aware of banking terms. And that was a very important change for Singapore as a financial center. And Bank of America was the first to get the license. So in the career of 33 years, I enjoyed my life. Reality began to set in when I was in the working life. And as Dennis mentioned earlier, I was right down in Raffles, Boat Quay. This is the old Boat Quay. Some of you realize? And the Boat Quay that I know was black, smelly, full of tongkangs and jumbos. They had only one hawker center, that's where Bank of China building is. And that hawker center had only one dustbin, that was the Singapore River. We washed the things, we threw everything inside the Singapore River, which today is, by the way, your reservoir, your source of drinking water. Over 100 years of mud and litter and waste. I was fortunate when I saw all this, and when our late founder and Prime Minister, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, had this vision, and he cleared the whole of Singapore River and made it nice. And during my service, which I was fortunate to be invited to join the GPC, where we mooted this idea that now that the river has been cleaned, shouldn't we have a society or some civil group or anybody to come and help look after the Singapore River? Or rather I was assigned and pointed to try and start this organization. We started this society called the Waterways Watch Society. And this is the place that's currently my office, but it's underneath the bridge of Nickel Highway, okay, with the support of Ministry of Environment. Our first job that we had under Waterways Watch was in the year 2000, where we did a talk. And this, you realize, this is below UOB, lunchtime talk. We did an open air talk for students to talk to them about why we are as a society, what we hope to do. And those days, the Singapore River was still seawater, not fresh, okay? So we had our talk out there and encourage the youth and tell them all about why we need to do what we are doing. And from there, we actually then branch off into school talks. And when I left the bank in 2002, I had more time to do more talks. And I think faith plays a big part in everybody's life. I was able to garner good support from volunteers, ordinary people, to come and join me. We used to operate only on Sundays because all of us were working. Then we moved to Saturday, Sunday. Then we moved to Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then gradually to a Wednesday. And today we work 7 days a week. But why do we do all this? When I was in Boat Quay, working and having lunch, I saw the whole transformation. And like Lee Kuan Yew, the vision he had struck me, that we spend so much money and effort to clean. How do you make sure that it stays clean? Because later I'll show you a map. It is very challenging. Because unlike all our other reservoirs, when the marina was converted to a reservoir, it had a lot of urban and rural population connected to this reservoir by rivers and canals. Unlike MacRitchie Reservoir, Pierce Reservoir, you don't see drains or canals leading into them. But marina, you see hundreds of drains and quite a number of canals leading to the reservoir. That means whatever it brings down, right down from your Bukit Timah Canal, from your Rocho, from your Sungai Kalang, it comes into a reservoir. In the old days, it would go out to the sea, to your neighboring country. Today, it stays. And this is a picture that was, in the early days we took, where my office is actually below the bridge this side. Okay? This is the old stadium, but now it's the new sports hub. So you try and visualize, we're diagonally opposite. Let me tell you this. This picture has not changed much. When you have a heavy downpour, thunderstorm, and all the litter is washed down from upstream, you can find this same picture today. On a given heavy day, our poor workers who are doing cleaning can muster about 70 trash bags just on this small little beach area on a daily basis. Where does all this come from? Upstream. Who puts them there? People. Why do they do that? They're not aware that little actions have got this big impact. More importantly, today it becomes more important, this is your source of drinking water, which our society now encourages people to come down to see up close and personal so that you don't forget. So this scene hasn't changed much. This is by the beach. There's the seafront. And you look at this. All coming from the sea. Some maybe from land. We run through our society all these educational awareness programs. Popular, we do talks. We do talks at schools or we do talk at our premises. We once in a while do have visitors. Besides Dennis, we had former Minister of Environment, Mr. Yaakob, who comes down and see what we do. And it's again like, come and check, see whether we're doing what we're supposed to do. But it is good. I know you didn't mean that. It is good that they come because then they really see. And in fact, he actually sat on a boat and went out to collect litter also. And when people understand, the more they understand, easier for us to convince why there's a need to change, why there's a need to do what we are doing. Because the environment is for everybody, irregardless of age, irregardless of nationality. We run these programs to bring down to all these people, Singaporeans or not, that we share the same environment, we drink the same water, we breathe the same air. So we need to understand. This is Mr. Yaakob. Okay? How do I do this? We do it through values in action. As you come in, you do an action, and it translates into a value. So that when you go off, you'll remember. You won't forget. And then hopefully, you can continue to change, to help us do what we do, and not make the environment worse. Just like Denise has ABC, I got AWF. But I tell my kids, how do you remember AWF? Very simple. A doesn't stand for Apple, W doesn't stand for WhatsApp, F doesn't stand for Facebook. It's air, water, food. The three components that without it, you cannot survive. More important, without air, and you know how bad it can be, right? The haze, you see how? Water, you can't survive. And of course, food. We take these three things for granted today. And our society works on the basis that we want to reiterate, re-emphasize to people, do not take this for granted. And I'll tell you why, especially in the area of our specialty, water. But climate change, and by the way, this year is the year of climate change. All right? And we are concerned, and this is also the year of the coral reef, but more important than climate change, we are concerned and we're trying to bring to people's attention that this is for real. It's no more bluff. And you read in the newspaper, and in Singapore, we all experience it, right? When you drive your car, can you see more than 20 feet when the rain is so intense? This was in the sailing club in Singapore. Can you imagine if there were people around and these things are flying? So now, the point that I'm trying to make here is that climate change is real and it's here. And really, when you have climate change, you can't blame it on anybody else. How to predict? How much water is in the history no more applies. The intensity, the rain that comes down is different today. The wind is different today. And like the video showed, we never experienced this. We got too much rain, but we also have very hot days. And that's what we talk about, climate change. And the expert tells us that the world's temperature may go as high as 0.3 to 4.8 degrees. We are at the equator. We're even hotter, right? Can you imagine a temperature going just 1 degree or worse still, 4.8 degrees, and you are out there cycling, jogging, or playing games? How uncomfortable it would be. That is the danger we have. To make it worse, people don't know, or maybe they know, but it doesn't hit them home yet. Hotter means less agriculture production, less water even. Then, in the North Pole, the icebergs are melting at a faster pace than in the past. And these are fresh water. And they're melting into the ocean, seawater. They're not melting into a reservoir. At least they melt a reservoir, not so bad. They're melting into the ocean. And our friends up in the north tell us in Finland, Sweden, don't think this is happening, don't affect you, because it actually affects the sea level. And we are an island. Remember that. We are an island. So we are subjected to 2 days, 2 times every day, high tide, low tide. So for those of you who stay in Singapore, be careful when you stay next to the beach. My advice to people is buy a 4th story and above. Don't buy ground floor. Maybe want to invest in a kayak. At the moment, no COE. Because your island can shrink. I remember a speech actually given by our late founder, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, when they talked about this. He knew about it during his lifetime. He actually said in one of his statements, perhaps it is time for Singapore to look at building dikes. He actually said that. It's stuck in my head. But we are shipping. Our main cost of business is shipping. How to build dikes? How did the ships all come in, the containers? So it's a challenge, and it's a reality check. Be careful, all of us. And Mother Nature can be very, very nasty to us. And besides that, not to worry about Mother Nature, our social behavior is a big challenge today. Remember I talked to you about the drains and the canals now as a source of channeling water, drinking water to our reservoirs. This actually is just next door to you all. behind your immigration. And this can be a daily scene, no? Daily. It's not accumulation of 1 week. And if you go in and you zoom in, you see what? Just your fun package, drink packets, McDonald's, Tiger beer cans, plastic bags, plastic bags, plastic bags. How did it get here? Through this kind of action. Irresponsible or unconscious action? One plastic bag, never mind. We are 5.5 million people. 10% do that, we're in big trouble. This is a daily. Okay? And who cleans it? Our cleaners. Singapore has got these registered cleaners, but actually we think we have 70,000 cleaners. This will be another first if you do cleaner to population ratio. It will be the first in the world. Unfortunately, United Nations don't have this figure, but you just guess that 1 to 77. That's a lot. And who's paying for this? You, through your taxes. How do you fight that? Reduce the need. How do you reduce the need? Better behavior, more recycle. In Japan, there's this little kind of town called, I think it's Kamitsu. I was reading it on the video. They're going into zero waste by 2020. They are now 80%. They recycle everything. They have 34 bins. Everyone who lives there recycles every day. By 2020, no waste. We have a policy in NEA, zero waste also. But I'm trying to figure out, very easy to say zero waste, how to achieve that. Do we teach people? Do we have the infrastructure? Do we educate people? In the marina itself, we have 10 tons of litter that flows into this reservoir every day. Every day, 10 tons. Okay? You see the rubbish? And I like to highlight this as a side issue. A lot of times also we get litter when there are public events, especially runs. I sit in the Public Hygiene Council, and we try and engage the event organizers and try and be a little bit more proactive. How do you control all this? This is like the run event, you know, everybody throws their plastic bottles all over the shop. And you begin to say, this cannot happen, especially in public events. You know the amount of plastic? The world today, I heard, consumes 1 million bottles of plastic every minute. Every minute, the whole world. And a huge chunk of it is landing out as waste. Many of it in the water. And later I'll show you the concern we have. We haven't improved in our recycling, although we have a recycling thing. We've been having this recycling thing from the year 2003, but we haven't improved. Why? First, can you find your recycling bin or not? A lot of them got problems. Then when you find a recycling bin, you know how to use it or not? Some say some blue color, some this, some combine, some don't have. See, we don't have a national recycling system. The cleaners do recycling, but everybody do on their own way. And that confuses people. As I mentioned, worldwide, Singapore has its problem also. 90% not recycled. Cans, very good recycling, because can got money. Before you can finish your drink, I'm sure people want to take, right? Plastic bottle, nobody wants. Because there's no money to be made. There's no motivation. But actually there is, if you do it on a large scale. Singapore, small population, but I think we can still do it. I give you a picture of where the Marina Reservoir is. So today, in the old days, all these rivers and canals will lead out to the sea. And it goes to Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines maybe. Today, it stays inside. So this is where I say 10 tons is collected every day, from upstream to right inside. Things like this are daily pictures. They are daily pictures that you see. And it's all created by people. It is not created by the birds and the bees. It didn't fall from the sky. It flowed down all from the drains and the canals. And this is how it happened. So if people are not aware, it has a lot of detrimental effects. to not only your environment, your drinking water, but also to things that stay in the water. See this one? It's a unique picture. Plastic bag caught. This is Singapore scene, huh? See this? Fish. See this? The life forms in the water like to eat plastic because in the plastic always got food. The birds they eat, they don't realize. So they will consume cans, bottle, caps, and then of course when you consume too much, you die lah. But all these are left by people. So this is something that we are trying to tell people. Be more responsible. Realize this small little plastic bag that you dispose of creates a very negative effect. So be more responsible. And plastic bags breaks into microplastics over a given time, even in the reservoir. But we don't fish in the reservoir to eat, at least not as an industry, but we do in the sea. And this is what happens. The microplastic is eaten by your lobster, your crab, your fish, and then we eat. It comes back into our body. We call it the food cycle, seafood cycle. So the plastic bag will come back to you. We talk about the golden age, the bronze age, the iron age. Now we talk about the plastic age. When plastic was first invented, everybody was so happy. But now you sit back and you say, I think it's time for us to rethink the use of plastic. Should we recycle more? Should we prevent using plastic? Bring your own water bottles. Our event, we always tell people, bring your own water bottles. We don't give mineral water bottles. But yet people still come with no water. And because welfare is very important, sometimes we have to supply them with water bottles. It's a mindset change that all of us must be aware of. Litter, besides plastic also ends up litter, right? The 10 tons of litter that you get every day is part of the total waste that we collect for the whole of Singapore. And a lot of it is every night incinerated and brought to this small little island called Semakau, man-made island. We don't have waste collection on the main island. So we created this island. We joined 3 islands, built it with engineering design. But at the rate we are going, by the year 2035, originally the plan was 2045, but because we are so wealthy and we consume so much and we dispose so much, the NEA has brought this to 2035 during your lifetime. The island of Semakau will be full. It's a fact. Unless we delay this. 17 reservoirs, maximum we have. And that's all we can have. But today, here's another thing I share with you. These 17 reservoirs, you see, all the blue areas, all the blue canals, rivers, and canals all lead into one of the 17 reservoirs. Why? Because water is important. Unfortunately, all these drains, in Malay they call Longkang, right? That's why I'm a Longkang king. By the way, Longkang king was given to me by my own family. I thought it was quite sexy, so I stuck to it. But anyway, it goes to one of your 17 reservoirs, and tomorrow is your drinking water. So there needs to be a mindset change. Longkang now is not for you to throw things. Longkang now, please understand, is collection of water for you to drink tomorrow. So you go back and you go check your drains. See how clean it is, then you begin to say, alamak, I drink this water. Of course, technology is now very efficient. We can clean the dirtiest, since we have new water, we can clean anything. But this is the challenge we have, okay? We have 4 national taps, okay? We import a lot of the water, but let me tell you another issue of concern, okay? We've increased our water capacity, and by 2020, if not later, we will increase it by 90%. Because every drop of water that falls on this little island will be kept in one of our reservoirs to serve us, for us to survive. And every drop of water that drops belongs to the government. don't belong to you and me. We have to share. Okay, because water is life. So to end, I like to just leave you this. And I like to tell you all, I can only be the messenger. I can show you the pictures. Believe me, none of my pictures are Photoshop. They are all genuine. They are all current as far as possible. I don't show you pictures unless it's history, I want to tell you. All the little scenes are current. Some even as current as last week. We update our pictures, and often the media, when they interview us, will ask, has it changed? My answer to them is, it hasn't changed. We still have a challenge. The only thing changed is, I see more cleaners. That's not a solution. It's not sustainable, and it's very costly. So what we're promoting, be more aware, so that you can then take control and say, I'm going to do things different if you're not already doing it. And I'm going to share it with my family, my friends. Why? Because it's for future Singapore. We have to be proud of our nation. We've come a long way. We've developed from the old kampong to a financial center that's proud in the world. We have the best airport. Or do we have the best behavior of people? Ask yourself that. So thank you very much.